So I was going through the YouTube and saw these posts about the drama between BTK and the Moonton about the recent upcoming MSC tournament where the BTK team was disqualified, and saw that there's too much support for BTK and thought I would give some uh, 2 cents or at least few arguments for Moonton. I don't really support them, but I think the discourse is too much one-sided and people should see the other side as well, just for balanced opinion. If I will not be covering the BTK's argument, you can check other videos for this, but I think the Moonton argument needs to be covered as well. Just a bit of background is that the team from North America, the MSC is like an inter-regional team where countries from different countries, they play their local tournament and qualify for that tournament, and then they compete among each other in something like a World Cup. Uh, in other sports as well, they have the same thing, and yeah, it's the same thing. This team, uh, BTK, qualified from North America, and they have been quite successful in the past as well. And they were due to play in the tournament on July. However, two of their top players, and I would say the most name recognized players, were approached by a competitive MOBA tournament to do a paid sponsorship for them, and they did the paid sponsorship in Philippines while they traveled there for preparation to the MSC tournament, this World Cup tournament, and did the paid sponsorship for the competition. And yeah, I see a lot of arguments about it. The first, normally, what the people argue is that so the sponsorship is necessary for these players because Moonton, the parent company, does not pay the North American teams for in cash and normally only do in-game currency prizes. And from my point of view, I think it makes perfect sense, right? It's Mobile Legends is not the first game that does that. All the other sports does that. For example, the distribution of resources for example, FIFA, UEFA, or cricket or tennis, all of them is different. The games which is watched by more people, which generates more advertisements and has more market, oftentimes gets more reward in terms of monetary gain than other markets where it's not so much. It's the same thing in international economy as well. So why are the same products produced in America more expensive than, say, in China or Vietnam? It's because there's unfair distribution of resources, and because of this unfair distribution of resources, uh, the not everybody gets the same thing. This is for the first time that North America or America is on the disadvantaged side of unfair distribution of resources, and I think they are getting a bit butthurt about it. But this happens in every sport, and the only way that you can climb through it is perform very well. And BTK did that when they went on to become the third team in M3, and they secured paid sponsorship and so on. And see, they have not been doing so well since then, and they don't get a sponsorship. I think this is a good news for other regions like India or Pakistan, Bangladesh, or South American regions to be able to take the automatic place to the M tournament. And yeah, it's just economics that's working. I think the second thing about this is that most people complain that uh, that the players were entitled to do it because they were not during the tournament and everything about it. But people have to realize that they had traveled to Philippines to do a boot camp for the tournament of MLBB, right? So they were, as far as the statements I have heard, is that they had to pay for their own boot camp, but they would be reimbursed for it later on by the company Moonton themselves, right? And so, in essence, it's a delayed payment, delayed expense for Moonton, but they were going to pay for it. So it's like you're going on a date with your wife, and then you go and flirt with the waitress or with the bartender. Then how would your wife feel? It's the same sentiment, is that you are traveling for one tournament which is much advertised, the travel of these players, but still they go and play the opponents, or at least the competitors' game in a sponsored content. So in a sense they are saying, oh, go and play this game because this game is quite good and blah blah and so on. So at least for me it doesn't sit quite right, because if I am paying for somebody to do something for me, and for example I have a restaurant and I pay somebody to come and do like a burger eating competition, and the competitor is inside the restaurant, and then he's waiting for the other competitor to come, and then he's just preparing for it, and he says like, oh, the restaurant on the other side of the street gives really good burgers or so. Then I would be pretty mad, because the people that are there are watching for my burger, and this guy is advertising for the other burger, and I don't think that would be quite fair for my business, at least, because I am paying for it. I mean, if he was doing on the street without me having paid for him or anything, then it's fine, but he's inside my restaurant. I am paying for him to do this competition, and he still advertises for the restaurant opposite of the street. Now try to think of it the same way. Like, you probably pay somebody to make a video advertisement, and the people who is making the video advertisement says that, oh, the other guy makes more better products and so on. It's something like that we can, even though Moonton is like a multi-billion-dollar company, we don't try to feel sentiment, but from their point of view, it makes perfect sense that you don't want somebody to come to your house and say that the neighbor has a better lawn or something. And finally, people try to point out to the nitty-gritty of the contracts, right? At least based on the videos that I have seen, is that the rule book says that the event is going to be held between July of 7th to August to some random date. And my point is that those things need to be clarified in the contract. Those things need to be clarified by the participant beforehand, because they should realize that if they are invested in this in any way, then they should realize that there are certain things that need to be clarified. And I know people would be, I have seen this video from Assassin Dave who says like, oh, we are not simps and blah blah and so on, but it's a part of your due diligence before doing any kind of contracted work. If you're doing a government contract as well, then you have to do a due diligence about when the dates apply, how you deal with every kind of miscommunication, disagreements that might happen, and if there are ambiguities in the rule book, then you have to go and discuss them in beforehand, right? There are many events in the sporting world where these kind of things happen. There's a famous incident where England and Germany were playing in 2010 FIFA World Cup quarterfinals, and then there's a perfectly valid goal from Frank Lampard that is disallowed. And at the end of the tournament, they adopt this goal line technology, right? How should English player feel? Should they not feel kind of stripped out of their uh, success, that they were going to make a great comeback. There are many events where injustices happen. That's a part of the sport, and you have to take it to the chin. And you know, I think these things will be cleared out in the future. But I think the greatest sticking point for me, at least, where these players cannot argue with a moral high ground, is that they are traveling to Philippines. So they could have just done the stream from North America, USA itself, and then travel in a later date, right? But they didn't do that. They announced they were traveling for MLBB to Philippines, and then they did a paid sponsorship for the competitive mobile game in the same period, and I think it's kind of disingenuous. And from my point of view, I feel sad for the players. Uh, that the disqualification was quite bad, but considering how much more support they are getting in the internet, I think they will do quite fine. Their following is quite strong. But I think this Moonton did quite a good thing, right? Even though they are American people around the world are not held to the same legal standard or same standard as the rest of the world. The rest of the world always are kind of bullied, and the Americans always get what they want. They have this idea of American exceptionalism or something, and you know, world is quite unfair. I mean, America uh, was being held accountable for the first time, and then they didn't react so well about it. If people have complaints about it, then they can check geopolitics, how America behaves around the world to other countries. They are actively promoting killing of people around the world, and so, you know, they are being held accountable, and I think they keep doing that.